Let's bring in former Detroit Police Chief James Craig. He's also running for governor of the state of Michigan. Chief, thank you for joining us. I talk about the cause and effect, the cause being all the Democrats' push to defund police departments around the country. The effect is a fallout right now. You're at the front line. You were at the front line of that. You're still on the front line of that. Chief Craig, tell us about what you see and how things are now and how they get better.
Well, Eric, let me just say again, thank you for having me on your show. Also, my prayers and thoughts go out to NYPD on the tragedy. I mean, they had 5 officers shot, 2 died. We had an LAPD officer, a department that I called home for almost 3 decades. Certainly, these progressive DAs are the problem. I'm telling you. And so it's nice that everybody's talking about, well, let's back off defund the police. Let's throw money at the police. Let's go out. And I know that Biden is going out to New York to do what? It's political. The damage has been done. Unless politicians, political servants, will stand up and denounce these radical socialist prosecutors and judges, nothing's going to change. I'm just going to tell you. And so the new mayor of New York, I get it. He served in law enforcement. He's pushed back. But what's going to happen? Now, I get that.
Well, Chief, allow me, if I may.
Sure.
If I may, Chief, I don't mean to interrupt you here, but you point out something very important. President Biden is coming to New York City to meet Eric Adams, the new mayor, who sounded, he talked a big game when he was running for mayor, saying that I'm backing law enforcement. And now with 3 weeks into the year, 5 cops have been shot, 2 have died. Crime is rampant. People are being pushed off subway platforms. Crime in New York is at its worst. Since I've known the place for 40 years, it's worse now than I've ever seen it. And I went through those years before Giuliani cleaned the place up. It's worse now. But here's the question. The first thing Mayor Adams says is, I need some help from the feds getting guns off the street. They're blaming guns instead of perps.
It's not guns. It's the criminals. What these progressives have done is they're making victims out of criminals. Victims out of criminals. And they forgot about people who live in vulnerable neighborhoods who are truly the victims. And so who are they speaking for? It's ridiculous. So I want Mayor Adams to succeed, having been a former cop, but he's going to have to be very aggressive, and maybe he's having some momentum in moving that progressive socialist prosecutor off what he put out. It's amazing how they distort the truth. We know what that prosecutor ran on. But here's the other thing. I got to tell you, as a person running for office, people have got to stop voting in these progressive socialists because they don't have your best interest in mind. People have got to stop voting them in. How did this DA get in office? Let me talk about LA for a moment. What about the progressive district attorney out there? He was a cop. I worked with him in Los Angeles. Very pro.
Yeah, and there's Chief, there's a lot of people pointing the finger at George Soros. I don't know if he supports any of these people or he paid for their campaigns. But here's the problem, Chief. I think you're hitting on something here. Most people, when they're voting for people, they don't realize, they don't do the homework and find out who they're voting for, what their backgrounds are, or where they are. Are we now at a point where voters are going to go and not only vote for a mayor, but also decide where they want to vote for a district attorney who, and then now we have to go find out what their background is and how strong they are on crime? I mean, maybe we should be. Maybe we should get more involved, but you're probably right, sir.
We should be involved because the sad truth is in some of these Democrat cities, you got police chiefs that are connected with these mayors who say nothing, do nothing. You got these progressive DAs. The mayors don't say anything. In New York, You got a governor. She says, well, I want to watch the DA. What does that mean? You don't need to watch. You need to say, this is the expectation. We need New York safe. And these suspects know one thing, Eric. If there are no consequences, they're going to continue to offend. When you look at the number of officers that have been shot in New York and other cities around our country, no consequences. Oh my God.
Yep.
Even here in Michigan, we have a progressive DA in a county. She says she will no longer charge suspects with felony firearm. And you know why? She said it because she thinks there are too many persons of color incarcerated, so she's not going to charge it. But
that's amazing, Chief. Chief, I got to go, but let's talk about that for just 20 seconds. My control room's going to freak, but you make a good point. So if you're not going to charge for felony firearm possession and you're trying to pull legal guns out of hands of law-abiding citizens, you're setting up a really bad situation where bad guys are going to have guns and good guys won't be able to defend themselves. Final thought.
You know what? People in leadership have got to stand up, denounce the rhetoric, and if they don't do it, I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican, you're complicit.
Yep. Got to leave it there. Chief James Craig, thank you for joining us. Always great having you on the show, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you.